What's good, everybody? Thank you guys for tuning in to a new episode of Tune Check Podcast. And like always, I'm your host, Cris. Hope you guys all having a great month of June. It's been really hot over here the past couple of days. I think we're in like some heat waves. So definitely go to the beach if you can. Stay hydrated, stay safe, stay cool. But before I get into this episode, like always, like this video, subscribe to my channel, comment, share this with your friends. Let me know what you guys think. Follow me on TikTok and on IG. Go like my stuff there. Show me some love. But for this episode, I got a few news updates, and then I got 3 projects at the end that I want to talk about that I reviewed. We had a lot of solid albums released throughout this year, so I'm really happy about the music and how consistent it's been. I personally think that the music coming out this year has been a little better than last year, to be honest. But definitely 2025 is one of the best years for music for sure. But speaking about it being a year, my 1 year anniversary did pass last week. Really happy about this. I'm happy that it's been a year since I've been doing this podcast thing. So I'm really happy with all the growth that I've seen personally, with the whole podcast thing, my pages and everything. Thank you guys so much for all the love. And just to do something small for the anniversary, I'm going to do a free giveaway. I'm going to give away 3 items. I'm going to post up the video soon, but definitely follow all the rules that are there. And like I said, it's free. You don't have to pay for nothing. I'm going to ship it out to you. But stay tuned for the video that I'm going to post up, letting you know what items I'm giving out. But I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think it's going to be dope. But like all my other episodes, I'm going to go through some news updates. And then at the end, I got 3 project reviews that I'm like really excited to talk about. But let's get into it. So one of the main tours right now is from The Weeknd. He just had his show at MetLife, I believe a few weeks ago. He became the highest grossing Black male artist to ever perform at MetLife and outsold Governor's Ball by 40,000 tickets. And I think that's great. I said this multiple times before. I genuinely believe that The Weeknd is going to be the artist of the decade for 2025. I do not see any other artists coming close to the numbers that he's reaching, coming close to all of his streaming, coming close to all of his sales. Like, I really do believe at the end of this decade, he's going to be that artist. And I'm excited to go to his show. My show is for, I believe, July 30th. So that's like next month. Got my merch already. I ordered like a shirt. I need to see him live. I haven't seen him live at all. This would be my first time. And I wanted to see him live for Kissland, which was like years ago, but I just never had the opportunity to go. But, this might be his last tour as The Weeknd, so I really got to show up for this. I'll definitely do like a little vlog for that as well, so stay tuned for that. But speaking about tours, we got Kendrick next. So his US tour, I believe, came to a close, and now he's going to move on to his UK tour dates. EU, UK. I believe it was like last week or probably like 2 weeks ago that he had his shows in Toronto. He became the first rapper in history to outsell multiple stadiums in Toronto. But Toronto definitely showed a lot of love to Kendrick. They even asked for like an encore of Not Like Us. That video went viral. I mean, I thought it was dope. I didn't really feel no type of ways about it or anything. I didn't think it was like the craziest thing, Not Like Us is definitely like a bop, it's a song that everybody plays, everybody could get lit to. If people are going to go see you on tour and the fans love your music, obviously you're gonna get like an encore for something that they like. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not really that big of a deal. And then I also seen videos of Top 5 pulling up on Kendrick, which I thought was corny. I don't know why you're even trying to do something to Kendrick or even like just show up like that. I think that's whack. And then there also was a video of former Canadian politician Jagmeet Singh. He was at the show, and Drake messaged him and ended up calling him a goof. And then Jagmeet replied on social media, he was like, "Oh, I apologize. I should have never went. I went there for SZA, but regardless, I should have never went. This and that. I love Canada, I love Drake and everything that he's done for the city." And to be honest, I thought that was whack too. Like, he's trying really hard to like make it seem like he's not letting none of this get to him, but it clearly is. And I just thought it was corny. Like, you're allowed to like whatever artist you want. You could like one artist and like another at the same time. It's all right. Even if those 2 artists are beefing, you could still be a fan of both of them. Jagmeet shouldn't even be apologizing for anything. Like, even if you went for SZA, like, you don't even have to state none of that either. Like, you went to a show that you wanted to go to. That is nobody's business but yours. You know what I'm saying? And then I also seen that people was doing like Drake meetups at the tour. So I'm like, why would you buy a ticket to go see Kendrick and then do a meetup outside just for Drake? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of whack. There was a lot of people that were saying like Drake this and Drake that. Same thing with Kendrick. And people was like, Kendrick runs Toronto, that Drake can't do this in LA, and that the tickets were $20, which is why it sold out. And I mean, if the tickets was $20, of course I'll go. Like, even shit, if I was in Toronto and I saw that the tickets was $20 for Kendrick, I'm gonna pull up too. Like, you know what I'm saying? Nobody's gonna say no to a $20 ticket. But even if it was $20, that show was guaranteed to sell out anyway, just like every other show has been selling out. And this is also like one of his biggest moments in his career. So obviously people are gonna want to go. And it's with SZA. Like, SZA is a great artist, a great performer. She did a great job there. when I seen it, like she really blew me away. So, you know what I'm saying? Like there's no, I just hate how like people are always bringing up Drake when Kendrick is involved or doing something and vice versa. Like I feel like it's really dumb. And at the end of the day, they're both in their own lane. Drake is a great artist. So is Kendrick. Just seeing all this back and forth stuff is just really corny at this point. And it's been like a year, bro. Yeah, like I said this multiple times. Like people are being real biased for both sides. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just weird. Like it's very weird and like you could like whoever you want to like, bro. Like there's no, you don't have to choose anything. Let me get back on track because I could keep going and going. But speaking about fans, next we got Doja Cat. So Doja Cat is basically being called out by a lot of people for an issue that she had a few days ago. So she basically had a fan interaction. The fan's name is Pablo de Mayo. I think that's how you say it. Not sure. When you look at the video of the whole interaction, you know, it seems very genuine. It seems like, yo, she's showing like appreciation to him. You know, they're hugging. He gives her the shirt that he's wearing because she asked for it, you know, showing her a lot of love and is basically being reciprocated by her. He also had mentioned that she would be the perfect girl for his Pride collection. You know, they hugged, you know, like I said, it seemed very genuine, you know, like a great fan interaction. But later she went on social media and basically said that it made her feel uncomfortable, that he was manhandling her. You know, she could smile, but it doesn't mean that she likes you, that she doesn't like being touched or any of that, and that she needs to stand up for herself. And she got a lot of backlash for it. You know, like I think it's whack too, because if you really feel some type of way and you don't like being touched, you know, you could have said that. Yeah, maybe you did get caught off guard, but you still had a lot of time throughout that whole interaction to say, yo, chill, you know, you could have just said something instead of just waiting and saying something afterwards that makes him look bad as if he's doing something wrong when he was really just showing you appreciation and just love. And, you know, and then he went on social media to pretty much just like, you know, explain what was going on and apologize. I don't think he had to apologize for anything because, like I said, she should have just been like verbal about it instead of just, you know, making him look crazy. But you know, he's getting his lick back. You know, he posted a picture quoting that he threw away the musty shirt, and it was a piece of merch that he bought at one of her shows. And he's also selling a tank top that says musty ass shirt on it. You know, go ahead and make it bag. Ain't nothing wrong with that, bro. Get your lick back. Do what you gotta do. But yeah, like Doja Cat is corny for doing that. Like that was just whack. Then my next piece of news is basically about Pusha T. So as you all know, Clipse is dropping a new album on 7-Eleven. You know, let God sort them out. They released their new track called So Be It. You know, I think the track is fire. Malice and Pusha T, they really did their thing. I love the beat. I love the production. The video is amazing. I think that's one of the best videos of the year, for real. You know, like the Pharrell production on it is just so fire. You know, I've been playing it like crazy over and over again because it's such a good song. And this whole album rollout has been really solid so far. I think it's been really great for them. But there was some issues that came out with this track. So Pusha T basically just dissed Travis Scott. You know, at first people were saying that it was Kanye since, you know, Pusha T spoke out about it. People at first said it was Kanye because Pusha T came at Kanye on Ace Trumpets. You know, he called him out saying that, and then he like spoke about him saying that he doesn't really like Kanye like that. I mean, at first when I heard it, you know, once he said Utopia, once you hear Utopia in the line, and then you hear like lip gloss, I automatically assumed it was Travis Scott. I'm like, okay, Travis Scott's getting like a little jab too. He ended up confirming that, yeah, you know, it was just for Travis. It was really just about Travis Scott. So the verse is, you cried in front of me, you died in front of me, Calabasas took your bitch and your pride in front of me. Heard Utopia had moved up the street and her lip gloss was popping. She didn't need you to eat. So clearly he's talking about Travis Scott and how, like, you know, he split up with Kylie. Then they go and call it the way they see it, but I got the video I can share and AE it. And then the rest of the lines is, they wouldn't believe it. I can't unsee it. Lucky I ain't TMZ it. So be it. So be it. Like the hook for this song is crazy. So be it. So be it. Like, yo, yeah, that's catchy as fuck. Like you don't understand. And I think the song's fire. Like I said, you know, that song's probably gonna be one of the best songs on the whole album, to be honest. But then Pusha T, like, you know, came out on a podcast, I think it's called Popcast or something, where he pretty much confirmed this is about Travis. You know, he's been on multiple interviews speaking about this and Travis Scott. He basically called him a snake, that he doesn't really like him, that nobody likes Travis Scott, that people think he's a clown, that he's annoying. You know, he said Travis is harmless, that he isn't loyal to anybody, that he fueled the Drake and Kendrick beef, that Travis is always on the side of, you know, whatever is popping at the moment. So this all came from a studio session that, you know, Pusha and Pharrell was having in Paris. You know, Travis Scott interrupted the studio session. They didn't want him there, but he just came in anyway. They played him Utopia. They wasn't really feeling it, but he still played it for them anyway. They got to the Meltdown song and the Drake verse wasn't there. Then the next day when they heard the Meltdown song on Utopia album, Pusha T didn't like that Travis Scott had, Drake's verse on it, dissing Pharrell and him. And basically he was like, nah, I wasn't really messing with that. That he doesn't like how Travis is basically fake and how he doesn't even like rappers that don't even rap in the first place. I saw a lot of pictures of the Utopia vinyl that didn't include Drake's, Meltdown verse originally because Drake sent it like the day before, I believe. And that's actually a fact. Like, I do remember Drake actually sending it, I believe, the day before the album came out. So, but still, Travis is still in the wrong because if he really, is, because Travis and Pharrell, like, they've always been cool. So it's just like you didn't have to add the whole thing on the album. You could have just told Drake, yo, like, leave it off. He didn't do that anyway. So I do get where Pusha T is coming from. And, Pusha T, like I said, brought up a great example with Like That. Travis likes to like fuel a lot of stuff. He fueled that whole beef with Pharrell and Drake. And then he did the same thing with Kendrick with the Like That song when there was a video of him asking Metro to play the song. People are coming at Push because they're saying that he keeps talking about it on interviews and that he's always doing this for album rollout, like clout chasing, dissing somebody. But this is like the second time that I've like seen him talk about like somebody publicly like this. I mean, yeah, he does throw like a few shots on his albums here and there because at the end of the day, he's a rapper. Like he's about it. He's gonna tell you how he feels. You could express yourself however you want to, but like I think the first time was the whole like Drake beef thing. But that's because they was beefing like prior to that already. So I don't really think that counted as part of his album rollout. I mean, for Daytona, I believe that's the album that he had the Whitney Houston dresser on it. I think that's really what got people talking. And also because it was produced by Kanye, I think he like produced all of the tracks on there, if I remember correctly. I'm not too sure. So, those are really the two reasons why people was going to check it out. I mean, yeah, he had a lot of buzz because, he basically won his beef with Drake, but I don't really think that was actually part of the album rollout. But this whole situation between Travis and Pusha T is like at what point is it bad to be neutral? You know what I'm saying? Because clearly, Travis Scott could like whatever he wants to like. He could pick whatever side he wants. He could be neutral if he wants. Just the way that he's doing it is just very weird because even though he's neutral, just be around whatever is, popping, which is true. Like just like how Pusha T said. But Bun B did say Travis Scott may reply back to Pusha T. And to be honest, bro, I don't think Travis should reply at all because Travis Scott is not a rapper like that. You know what I mean? Like he don't really got bars like that. And Pusha T would just literally destroy him. There's no like going back and forth with him. Like what would Travis say to Pusha T? You know what I mean? Like what would his bars be towards him? Like what is he gonna say? He's gonna say, "Oh, it's lit," straight up. Those ad libs. You know what I mean? Like he'll probably mention it like in a song or in a feature that he has coming up that coming up soon. Say like one little line about it and then that's it. But I don't think Travis should reply. I think Travis should just leave it how it is. But at the end of the day, like I said, this Clipse album is gonna be fire. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be dope. But that's about it for the news. And next, I'm gonna get into these three projects that I was listening to that came out that really caught my attention, that I've really been enjoying. So the first one that I want to talk about is Scarlip. She released her debut mixtape, and I've been seeing it talked about everywhere on social media. It's been getting a lot of praise from a lot of critics as well. The Runaway freestyle, super nostalgic for me because I remember when that song came out when I was younger and everybody was listening to it in like middle school and stuff. So it was very nostalgic for me because I remember that moment specifically when Ludacris and Mary J. Blige dropped that track. I love how she did her freestyle over it. I love how she pretty much kept the themes there and everything. But yeah, so the mixtape is called Scarred Before the Fame, 7 songs, 20 minutes long. So definitely go check it out. Like I said, it's only 20 minutes. It's a great mixtape. For real, go listen to it. The features on here are Lil Wayne, Honey Baby, Tata, Skilla Baby, and Anthony Hamilton. My favorite songs on this whole thing is Pop That, Fruity Pebbles, and Runaway Love. So like I said, this is her debut mixtape. She's been releasing freestyles for the past few months on social media. I believe some of them are on YouTube as well. And she's really been doing her thing. Like I really do love how she raps and her rap style. So I was definitely ready for this one to drop. The mixtape is great. She definitely found a way on here to show her versatility and how good of a rapper she really is, especially with all the freestyle she's been releasing recently. She's usually like in the drill scene, but this mixtape really just showed more sides of her. She's basically just speaking about her life, before the fame, things that she went through, all the emotions that she felt, and just her own personal growth from everything. I know a lot of people do like these themes often, but not a lot of people are really good at conveying like what they want to convey and like demonstrate how it separates them from everybody else and how different, they are. But she did a really good job of doing that. And the storytelling on this mixtape is fire. Like she's a really good storyteller. Because like I said, I know she's a good rapper, but this was really like a solid mixtape. And a good example of her storytelling and everything was obviously on Runaway Love. She embodied what that track represents and did it justice. Probably one of the best freestyles, like, that came out this year and in a while, to be honest. But like I said, it's only 7 songs, so it's a quick listen. So definitely check it out. Shout out to Scarlip. This definitely has me excited for, whenever she releases an album, like a full length project. And then the second project that I want to talk about is an EP. So it's from K1, With All Due Respect, 9 songs, 25 minutes long. The features are Kalani and Flo. So K1's been on the R&B radar for a minute, from her releasing Worst Behavior with Kalani, and then to them releasing like that video that had like everybody talking about it, like Dan, their chemistry and whatnot. But this EP is like one of the best R&B EPs that I've, heard this year that dropped recently. I love how she delivered a body of work that just shows how confident she is as an artist and just really shows more about her. Her style is like super refreshing, definitely something needed, and it really does stand out because it's not your typical R&B EP or R&B project. It really shows like her artistry and her creativity on here. I love how she used like jazz elements in certain tracks and how she switches from instrumental sounds and modern R&B. There's like a track on here that's like a throwback record, like a 90s kind of song. So it all starts with Bite Me intro. She's talking her shit. She's not being humble anymore. She's here. She's gonna make sure that everybody knows that she's here. Then it leads into Stand on It. I love the production here. I loved how it starts with the horns, very instrumental like, and then the hi-hats come in with the kicks. I think that was fire. I love that whole progression there. She's singing about how she doesn't want to be an option, that she wants the person that she's with to be honest about them having somebody else if they do. Then you got Worst Behavior, the single that she released with Kalani, that made everything really pop more for her. Then you got Back to the Club. This had like a nice 90s kind of feel R&B with like some modern R&B sounds. I thought it was fire. I enjoyed like the background vocals and the harmonies here. Then you got the interlude after that. I love when interludes sound like they're their own actual songs. I feel like that's fire because not a lot of artists could do that. So I thought that interlude was fire. Then there's Talk to You. This is featuring Flo. So Flo is a female R&B group that's honestly blowing up. They've been blowing up, I believe, since last year. So I wouldn't be surprised if they get into the limelight real soon like that, if they like reach like that mainstream status. But this collab was great. I love how they're both able to blend, their sounds to make a great track. The vocals from everyone just sound so good. Then you got All the Girls. She uses like a bit more auto tune on here, but it worked great. Like she could really sing, and the auto tune was like really a good addition. It's a bit different from the previous tracks too. It's more of like a modern R&B sound in terms of the production, but it really sounds good. Then you got Do What I Say. This is another track she released with a video too. Then at the end, you got War to Be Over. I think that was a great ending for the whole EP. Like this whole thing was constructed like very well. But I'm really excited for whatever it is she got coming out next. This is just the EP. And it was, like I said, it was really one of the best EPs that came out this year. Definitely go check it out, go stream it. It's called With All Due Respect. And then the last project that I want to talk about is Lil Tecca. So my boy released his DOPAMINE album, 17 songs, 42 minutes long. The only feature is Ken Carson. This is an album that I've personally been waiting for. I've been listening to this album like back to back since it dropped. Like Lil Tecca has not missed at all for me. I think he's really been doing his thing. I love how this sounds all together. He's a great melodic rapper, like I said before. And with every Lil Tecca album, you're just gonna get great production, great transitions. I think it was smart that he started the album with the 2 singles he released, Dark Thoughts and Awa Awa. I think that was a great choice. I'm happy that it's not spread out throughout the album. It's just like here, these are the 2 songs, and then here's like the rest of the project. He plays with a lot of different sounds here. He has like a lot of pop rap records, like Favorite Lie and Irish Goodbye. Then he has some like rage ready songs like Boys Don't Cry, One Night, Tic Tac Toe with Ken Carson. There's a few songs on here that like have a nice 2000 sound, like Don't Rush, Hollywood, and Sure of It. My most favorite tracks on this whole album is On Your Own, Wake Up, and Don't Rush. The transition from Let You Know to On Your Own was like one of the best transitions I've heard on an album recently. I literally ran back this transition like mad times because it's just so clean. But for the most part, it's just his usual style of music. And, that's great. Lil Tecca is always going to stand out for his style. He isn't one of the greatest rappers. Like, don't expect like too many crazy bars from him. His creativity and his style is what really makes him stand out, and just how consistent he's been with his music. Like I said, you're always going to get great production, always going to get great transitions, always going to get great melodies. Like, that's one thing that he's really been consistent with. And I do like how there's barely any features on here because he really doesn't need it. Just one feature was fire. And like I said, this is definitely an album I'm going to keep replaying like I have been. I think this album is fire. Definitely a great summer album. I've been playing this back and forth like crazy. But, shout out to Lil Tecca. Keep doing what you're doing, bro. Definitely excited for whatever it is that you got coming out. I think this is probably his best album so far. But with that being said, this episode's come to a close. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate all the love and support I've been getting. Like I said earlier, subscribe to my channel, like this video, comment, let me know what you guys think. Follow me on TikTok and on Instagram. But like always, share this with your friends, families. But I hope you guys all have a great week and a great weekend ahead. And I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.